What's going on, everyone? Welcome to Common Sense Living, the show where we discuss financial and economic trends, gold and silver, and various business topics. So, today I want to discuss hyperinflation in Argentina, what caused it, and why here we really need to pay attention. Now, currently, the annual inflation rate in Argentina had crossed 100% for the first time since the lower 90s. And if you're not familiar with this at all, inflation in Argentina, it's just been an ongoing problem really since the early 80s, and we'll get to what kind of started this and what they've done and all the mistakes they've made along the way. But again, it's it's not uncommon for it to have been 30-40%, year to year. It's been like that for quite a while. And the monthly increase in February, it was 6.6%. Year to date reading was 13%. So it's bad there. It's really bad. And we know hyperinflation is something that really can destroy a country. It really can wreck people's lives. It can take people who are middle class, put them into lower class. Um, Prices have to be updated constantly. Um, and it can take people who are, in poverty and just essentially make them homeless. And sometimes, of course, it can take people who are middle class and bump them down to homeless as well. So, how did this come all about? And again, I think here in the US, we really need to think about this, and kind of learn from their lessons. So Argentina, this really began in the late 70s, early 80s. There was a military dictatorship that ran the country at the time, and there was a lot of corruption. Doing sudden Now, one of the things that contributed to it was doing quick deregulating in the financial markets. So for example, one action that they took was, and this wasn't deregulation, but this was just some of the corruption you saw, where they loaned out $46 billion to large corporations, or about half of it actually went to big businesses, and then they just didn't require any sort of repayment. They just basically uh, gave a subsidy for these big corporations. And really, when you stop and think about, well, how does that parallel here? We're seeing that exactly happen, not exactly, but pretty much happen here with the student loan forgiveness program, where we're thinking of forgiving all these loans and we're not thinking about what can actually happen down the road. How can this increase our inflation, our debt? And we're beginning to see that our country, national debt, is growing more and more every year. The interest is getting out of control on it. And coming back to Argentina, so we've seen politician after politician come in there and try to fix the economy. They've tried a number of things really the last 30, 40 years. They tried pegging their currency to our dollar. And in the end, what do they always end up doing? They always end up just printing more money to try and solve the problem. That's a common problem we have here, where politicians come in and the Fed. So through fiscal and monetary policy, they think the solution, the fiscal policy that they think is going to work, is they think by putting in these by passing these massive bills, that it's going to increase productivity within the economy. But that just doesn't work. That's just not how innovation and productivity comes about. It comes through small business entrepreneurship. It comes from the ground up. Now, what's troubling too that happened there, we haven't really seen this here, and it's definitely something that we have to be concerned about because of the weakening of the US dollar on the world stage, and that's capital flight. So essentially, that's going to be investors deciding in our country, American investors deciding, well, I'm not going to invest in the US really much anymore. I'm going to spend overseas. And that's something that could really, really hurt us, um, if we start seeing more and more of that. And I do believe that we will, especially with, um, the Fed losing that power with their interest rates, where more countries are starting to get out of treasuries, and less countries are buying treasuries. And again, we haven't seen that shift really a ton right now, but that's something that's definitely we need to keep an eye on. Now, one thing you might find surprising about Argentina is they're rich in natural resources. And this is similar to another country in South America like Venezuela. Venezuela is huge in oil, and they have had some of the same problems over there where they were a booming economy, and then corrupt politicians came in, and next thing we see, country is struggling, and they're mismanaging the whole situation. So again, we have all the ingredients to see something like this. We have out of control debt. Most of our largest corporations, they're banking and technological. They're not manufacturing based, and we're really a service based economy these days. And of course, we have very poor leadership with the federal government and the Fed. The decisions were becoming more and more divisive in this country, and obviously, we haven't seen something like a military dictatorship or anything like that come, but it's heading, and it may not actually get there, but it's definitely heading in that direction where we can start seeing, one side go after the other side, jailing other politicians, and essentially just making decisions without a um, discussions like they used to at least have. So what's really gets me about this whole situation is that our kids are going to suffer, and I mentioned this on other videos. We're just kicking the can down the road for our kids, our grandkids, and it's really easy to imagine a future with hyperinflation here. And maybe it doesn't come the next 5 or 10 years. Maybe we just keep printing money. New politicians come in, they promise things. New Federal Reserve chairs come in. There's promises made, but we really need to start focusing on innovation and productivity. That's going to begin with having a business friendly environment for smaller businesses. And the way I see it, we don't see, the way I see it is that right now we're just kind of, we've got a sinking ship, and we're just plugging hole after hole, and eventually it's just going to start filling up, and it's going to be it's probably past the point of no return now, but it's definitely going to get to the point where it's sinking quicker and quicker. So in my opinion, it's better to have some pain now, and I keep talking about this on most of my videos. I would rather go through just a deep recession, or I would have rather gone through them rather than cutting rates. That's something we did back in, uh, was it 2018 or 2019, when things were looking really dire in the economy, and um, the decision was made to cut them. We shouldn't have cut them then. We need to have a positive real rate of interest in this country. So that's all I've got for today. Please comment, please like the video, helps the channel out. And if you're not subscribed to the channel, appreciate us if you'd subscribe if you like the content. Thanks a lot.